What do you got here? Thanks for bringing it.
Oh, no problem. That's a Balvenie, 14-year Caribbean cask. Single malt Scotch aged in a rum cask.
Rum cask. Okay. Yeah. No, it's not a typical Scotch flavor. It sort of ends in some oaky notes.
Like sweetness.
Yeah.
You know, that's I like to go for the ones that kind of have like a spice to the end of them.
It does. Ah, that's the rum bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I like it. It's a lot. And as you know, last night we did Renewable Wives and Wine with your wife.
We did.
On here. And I don't do so good on the red wine anymore. I think it's the age. I wake up snotty. I don't feel well.
It gives me a headache.
Yes.
I enjoy it, especially being a cigar guy. I enjoy the single malt Scotch, the bourbons, things like that with the cigar. The wine, for sure, is another good pair with the cigar. But wine gives me a headache now.
Yeah, similar.
It's never a good after experience. It's a great during experience.
I think I had my own bottle. I chose a Zinfandel.
Yep.
HP Winery, and it was about half gone. So that's like 2 glasses.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
We're pouring a little low in these things. And
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
still, I was like, oh, that's all I got.
That's all you got. But I like, when I do wine, like I'm not a white guy. I'd rather do like a Merlot, something that's a little sweet, red. You know what I mean? Some people, I'm not a Moscato guy. And it's very, very small amounts. I'm not the kind of guy to sit down and drink a bottle of wine. I'll drink a bottle of Scotch.
Ooh. All right. I want to say that's next level, that's step up, but honestly, I think it's the last step. So maybe change that a little bit.
Oh, man.
Yeah, not a whole bottle. I drink socially when I'm out, so I like lower alcohol. Usually the whites are a little easier on me.
Yep.
Like this beautiful Scotch. This to me is, at home or somewhere comfortable. Cigar would be fantastic.
Slow sip.
Yes.
You know, I don't drink full bottles anymore.
Good. All right, I'm glad to hear
Used
that.
to.
I'm glad to hear that.
But
Well, you were just telling us about how it turns the color.
it does, yeah. So whiskey is, by nature, is white. It's a clear liquor. It's not a brown liquor. It actually gets its color from the aging process, depending on the cask that they use to age it. So when a lot of people say, "Oh, you're a brown liquor guy," it's not really an accurate statement. It's more of a facade.
Well, it is how quite a few years ago, how I got turned on to tequila, the añejos, because they were dark colors. So again, it comes out of clear liquor. The blancos it's just distilled. It was never aged at all, right? Yep. It's processed, distilled, put in a bottle. Everybody wants their blanco, silver, white, whatever label they give it. But then the añejos, and you get the colors. And I did some more homework to find out some distilleries, but they were buying like old whiskey bottles, or barrels rather, and old wine barrels. And then they put their tequila in it for a year. And now all of a sudden you got some notes of some, interesting wines and some drier bits in the back. And then you can taste the oak. Maybe it was a burnt oak barrel.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right? Like bourbon, it's a brand new burnt oak barrel. They would do some of those. Now I enjoy tequila.
Another interesting thing about whiskey in general is people assume that the age means that you're buying a better whiskey.
Yeah.
And that's not always true. A lot of what you pay for is the amount of whiskey that was lost in the aging process, because the longer it sits in the barrel, the more whiskey you lose. So there's a lot of whiskeys out there that are 12, like this is a 14-year. To make an assumption that an 18-year is a better tasting whiskey or more enjoyable whiskey is a lot of times a misconception. What you're paying for a lot of times is what was lost during the aging process. And not to say I've had some great 18-year, 21-year stuff, but there's some really good 12-year, 14-year stuff out there for not as much money, if you know what you're looking for.
Ooh. All right, I want to go shopping with you. This sounds good. All right. Steve, you and I just met each other, what, like a month ago?
No, probably
Maybe?
not even. I don't even think it was a month. I think
3
it was
weeks?
probably about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks. All right. And Jeff introduced us because you guys are working together out at Solar Star.
Yep.
You know, in its time, and did it go online in 2012?
I think 2012.
2012, half gig solar power plant. It was the biggest of its time. It's 0.6.
No, it still is
Oh, it still is the biggest of its time.
in the world.
I thought Topaz got bigger. No.
Second biggest.
Second biggest. Okay. So 2012 was the biggest of its time, and I'm hearing that it's still the biggest solar plant in our country, in the world.
In the world.
I'm hearing back here, in the world. That's phenomenal. It's in our backyard because we're locals here. And now BHER is going and they're changing out a huge number of inverters, right? They're the central inverters, huge skids, they're
ABB
30,
Ultras.
40,000 pounds. ABB Ultras. We don't talk a lot of trash on this podcast, but you know, they're throwing them away. Yes, so we won't nag on that one. And that's how you guys met. So you've been in the industry how long?
The electrical industry or the renewables industry?
Well, both.
So collectively in the electrical trade, almost 18 years.
Okay.
So fresh out of high school, I'm 35. Fresh out of high school, stepped directly out of vocational school and directly into the field. Started in commercial industrial. I did a lot of cell towers in my early days. Was never a residential guy, just mainly commercial industrial. When I was about 7 to 8 years in, was when I made the transition into renewables. That was Solar City originally.
Oh, yeah.
Installation side, a lot of commercial hybrid stuff, transitioned into O&M. Was there throughout the Tesla acquisition. Spent a lot of time as a O&M technician when it was Tesla. I wasn't an install guy at that point. And then I made a slight transition throughout my career, moved on to MaxGen, who eventually was acquired by Pierce. And that's where I finished out the brunt of my career. And throughout that, it was technician, worked way up to site supervisor. When I was a site supervisor, I ran 5 utility scale plants in PA. They were 5 20 megawatt projects at the time, all central inverters. I was responsible for day-to-day preventative maintenance, corrective maintenance, the MV side, pretty much everything front to back. And then eventually worked my way up into the regional manager for the East Coast. And then eventually, when I relocated to California, as Lauren said last night, to be with her, that's when I kind of made the stance. And I was like, well, I did a lot of traveling when I was a technician. And I was just ready for kind of my own personal happiness. So that's when I kind of transitioned. You know, I asked my management at the time to find a spot for me in California. So it was kind of a responsibility shift for a little bit. And then it turned into me running the entire country. I was working for the O&M division at Pierce at the time. And then I was, asked at the end of this, I was asked to come on and help out with Solar Star as they were getting close to it. And I made the choice at that point to start my own company and basically go after the MV portion so that Pierce had a trusted partner to step into this project. And they had someone that they could rely on as an ally to handle that piece of scope for them. So we've been now down there from day one. I was involved very early in the project and now seeing it to completion. So it's kind of rewarding to be involved in something like that from the time that we're having discussions about taking on a scope like that, seeing it through, and now I believe we're at 40 inverters online as of date, and we've been out there for a little less than 2 months.
What a story. What a story. Okay, I heard high school, vocational school. What'd you do there?
So I went to vocational school while I was in high school for electrical.
Okay.
So I spent half my day doing general academics, and then I spent the other half of my day doing electricity. So I was 2 years in for electrical theory, which was a portion of book study, some hands-on. When I was in VOTech, I actually was second place to go to the state finals for Skills USA. So when I was young, I was very passionate about electrical. Some of it came from tinkering with a lot of electronic stuff. I was very into taking things apart and rebuilding them and trying to accurately put them back together. So I think I kind of have a natural knack for just kind of getting in, troubleshooting, and trying to figure things out.
Amazing story. Fabulous story. I hope lots of folks hear this, right? Because you can learn a skill, right? Learn a trade.
Yep.
You can darn near do it on your own.
Yep.
With the internet today, right? During high school, after high school, no time like the present sort of thing, doesn't matter where you're at in life, and build a career on it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a job. You built a career on it, and then, your passion somehow led you into launching your own business.
Yep.
And it's this year is the launch?
Yeah, we formed in September 2024.
Okay.
So I formed early so I could go after my C10 for California as a corporation. So I didn't want to do it as a sole prop, mainly because I knew that I had intentions on going off on my own. And I didn't want to double pay the fines, because if you start as a sole prop and you try to move into a corporation, there's some penalties involved with that. First of all, you have to have a little bit more insurance. You have to have a little bit more bond. And you also, there's only a certain amount of LLCs that are accepted throughout the year, based on the board. It's kind of
in conjunction with the license?
In conjunction with the license, because the contractors board looks at LLCs as a liability, because forming an LLC limits your liability. So I haven't heard of any stories of it happening, but there is a possibility where the board could say, we're denying your application, we'll revisit it next year. So I went straight for a C corporation. So we are incorporated. We are a general stock company in the state of California. And that's kind of why we formed a little bit early. So we formed in September. I sat the test in, I think it was November was when I sat the test, and my electrical license was issued by December.
What was that like?
It was interesting because most of my background is commercial industrial. I don't have a lot of residential background. So when I took a course to prep for the law exam, to understand the law in California, all the specific rules around operating as a contractor, which a lot of it I knew from my job duties at Pierce. I did a lot of contract writing, bids, proposals, change orders, all kinds of things like that. But the trade worried me slightly, and not because of my ability, but because there was a decent bit of residential code on the practice test.
So you had to study.
So I had to study a little bit, because it's been so long since I've been in the residential world. I never really was in the residential world. There were residential things that I did as side jobs, but I never focused on residential ever in my career. So, excuse me, as it relates to the commercial field, I did that every day. A lot of the stuff on the code, understanding some of those code requirements and specifics in the commercial world, it was like second nature to me.
Sure.
I didn't have to think about it. Where it's like they ask you a question like, how far does your kitchen sink have to be from this GFCI outlet, right? And it's just like, I don't know,
Right.
I mean, and California's a closed book test. So there's a lot of states in the country where you have an open book test where you're sitting in front of the code book. If there was a circumstance like that where I was sitting in front of the code book, probably would have had a little less anxiety about it,
Sure.
I guess you could say. But in the end, I took the law exam on a Monday. I took the trade exam on a Tuesday. I was in there for less than 2 hours both days. And looking back at it now, it was a lot easier than I anticipated it being.
Only because you studied hard. I'm sure of it.
Because I studied hard.
It's how folks that walk away going, that was easier than I thought. It's because they studied hard.
I studied hard and I had a strategy.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Altair Energy Services, and their highly trained, expert technical staff, leveraging decades of renewable power management experience into customized solutions for everyone to meet their energy goals and contribute to a better future for all. Altair's team of hardworking, respected experts are providing full-scope, turnkey repairs, planned and unplanned maintenance, system upgrades, fully autonomous technical crews, supplemental staffing, and customized dynamic scheduling to fit your power production needs. Contact Altair at info@altairenergyservices.com and learn more about their wide range of capabilities across multiple power technologies and platforms.
So I walked in, and the only thing that they give you is some reference materials, because there's some things where they're going to give you like a floor plan where you have to do a load calculation, or you have to reference drawings to understand where certain things are. The other thing they give you is a whiteboard. So the whiteboard is for all kinds of things. You can draw on it, you could take notes on it, right? So what I did was I said, I'm going to go in and I'm going to only answer the questions that I'm 110% positive that I know the answer for. Because it was 115 questions, I had to get 70 right. So I took the whiteboard and I tallied every question that I took. And as I went through and tallied, by the time I got to the end, I had 60 answers that I knew I was 100% correct. And then it was like, okay, now I have 40 some questions left. All I need is 10 out of 40.
Yep.
So I started going backwards on the least difficult to the hardest. I saved the hardest ones for last. That way, if I didn't have time and I had to take a guess, I could take a guess. And that's exactly how I did it. So it was a little bit of practice. You know, I paid for a course. I did a lot of practice tests. I mean, when I did the law exam, I was taking like 7 to 8 practice tests a day.
Wow.
And I just kept taking them and kept taking them and kept taking them to just try to keep the information fresh.
That's intense.
It was intense. But like I said, I can say I did walk in first attempt, passed both tests. I don't know what I scored because they don't tell you. They only tell you what you score if you don't pass.
I got
So
you.
if you do pass, to eliminate trying to, you know, guess which questions were the proper answers and not leak, you know, prominent information for the test, they don't give you your score if you pass. Mm-hmm. So the only time you see your score, you get a breakdown of your failed responses if you fail the test. But
unbelievable. Steve, I had no idea. Since we met only 3 weeks ago, I knew you were an expert in your field, an expert in your space, medium voltage, MV. But dare you just talk about test strategy? I mean, you got a higher level of thinking going on that most people don't really consider. Did you study hard for a test? Yes. Did you create your own habits so you're doing 7, 8 practice exams a day, prepping to go? Yes. But now you start strategizing on how many questions do I really know the answer to while I'm taking it, to know what my score is going to be, to hit it at the end. I mean, that's test-taking strategy. It's an advanced level. Considering how to take a test.
It was that important. We could not fail that test. You know, it was very important. It's something, Adam, that I wish I did a long time ago. Because like I said, I mean, being at that time, I was 35. I just turned 35 that July. It was an accomplishment for me, but I felt like it was too late. Like even for me, as long as I've been in the field, I felt like I should have did it sooner. So, but I'm glad I did it now.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's the old Confucius question, right? When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
When's the second best time? Today. Yeah. Congrats. Holy smokes, congrats. What an accomplishment. What an accomplishment. It also leads me to believe you're likely one of these interesting humans that don't have the ability to fail. I've been recognizing this as I age in different people, and it's simple. Yes, we all lose. Nobody wins all the time. People lose all the time. But this, inability to fail means you don't give up, right? You gave everything you had, and you left it on the field, so to speak. You gave it all.
Yeah, and that's important. I mean, I tell people I had a hard transition, right? I was one of the best technicians out there when I was out there, right? And it was jobs that I was working on that was close to home. It was the willingness to get up and go anywhere that they needed me to go to fix their problems. I spent probably more than 3/4 of my adult career being that guy, being the guy that would show up weekends, late nights, put in 14, 15, 16 hours to get the job done. One of my biggest challenges throughout my career was transitioning to management. And I tell people this all the time, right? It's like
It's a tough one.
The transition to management was the hardest part, because being the guy who would utilize electrical theory to get to the problems, utilize strategy, critical thinking to try to figure out the issues that existed, one of my biggest struggles was leading people, because I had a lot of people. At the end of my career with Pierce, I had 417 projects across the country, and right around 30 or so indirect technicians. And one of the hardest things that I struggled with in the beginning, by the time I got to the point where I had that many people, I had gotten the resources through management, through Lauren, being in town now, being close to HQ and being able to utilize our internal stuff. It was challenging, but I eventually got through it, because when you try to manage somebody and mentor them from a couple 100,000, 2,000, 3,000 miles away, that's challenging, right? Mm-hmm. And coming from the field, my first response is always put the boots on, get in the truck, go fix it, right? Show them how to fix it, be there. And I was able to do that for a lot of the California-based work once I got here, fixing stuff from a distance and giving those technicians what they probably needed from me a lot of times when they're so far away. Almost working from a remote standpoint was challenging at times, because I was only one guy, couldn't be everywhere, right? So I think the hardest thing and probably the most challenging thing for me ever in my career, was the transition to management.
Did you get any training? Did anybody offer you any coaching training? Did you have a mentor?
Yeah, I think that we had mentorship through several levels of management. Definitely got training. I think that when you deal with people, there's no real way to train how to deal with people, because there's a certain personal aspect, and that was the part where I felt with the technicians, because I was a technician.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
So it was like, okay, this is what corporate wants, this is what management wants, but these are my people, right? Like, these are the people I rely on to get the job done. These are the guys that are out there putting their back on the line, putting their neck on the line, missing time with their family, missing holidays, missing school events, and when you manage from that perspective and you've been that guy, it's really hard to drink the juice and just be the yes man for the corporation, right? You're part of your job is to say, these guys rely on me.
But you're also growing your career, and you have to deliver your boss's requests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times, there were times when the best thing for me to do was not worry about how it got done, but get in the truck and go out there and give that in-person field training, mentorship, so that it could get done. And that's challenging. It's something that is really, it's probably the hardest part of management. The hardest part of management is not deliverables and PODs and service reports, right? It's like scheduling. The hardest part of management is retention, right? And getting guys to take care of the needs that you have while taking care of them at a level where they stay with the company is the hardest thing.
It really is.
If you can master that, you're going to have a phenomenal workforce. And
how do you think you're doing?
I think we're doing good now. Part of the reason why I wanted to go on my own was so that I could control the things that I couldn't control. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we're controlling. Lauren spoke about how we're trying to mentor. I'm trying to take things back to the old apprenticeship programs. I'm trying to take it back to a guy who's coming up in the trade, trying to educate himself, get as much knowledge as possible, and put them with a qualified journeyman so that they can get the appropriate level of mentorship like I had. Because that's how I started. You know, I didn't.
You were given that mentorship.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, nice. I was. When I came into the industry, the electrical industry, I was an apprentice, side by side with a master electrician every day of my life, right? And I used to ask him all the time. His name was Steve, too, ironically. You know, I used to ask Steve. I say, Steve, why do you show me all these tips and tricks and things that he's teaching me that you wouldn't learn in a traditional school? It's you know, it's tricks and niches that he learned over the years from just being out there. You know, and he said to me, he said, Steve, if I don't teach you what I know, then one day the trade will die with me. You know, and he said, there's plenty of work out here. There's enough work out here that nobody needs to withhold information or education, you know, and that dude taught me everything I knew.
What a guy.
In the beginning.
You were very lucky to find this guy.
Oh, absolutely. And he was a mean guy. He wasn't a nice guy. You know, he was the kind of guy that would cuss you out, right? And, you know, he used to always say to me, he said, one day you're going to have a sense of urgency, Steve. And I hope I live to see it. So.
Did he?
Not personally. I mean, he's still alive, I'm sure, but he never got to see it. So I think he'd be pretty shocked if he seen me today.
You should reach out.
Maybe.
You should absolutely reach out. He's going to be so excited about what you've done with your career.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you should reach out, especially a guy that cares that much.
Yeah.
Well, there is very little manager training in our industry. I did a 12-week course. I'd love to share it with you.
Yeah.
If you'd like it.
Oh,
it's all based on the book First Time Manager. I just broke it down into 12 weeks, a couple final assignments, and weekly sort of to-dos. But the concept is that I kind of, I don't know if I heard it anywhere. I might be stealing it, might be my own, but the concept is, can you become a person that other people want to work for? It's a heck of a thing to wrap your head around, right? It's so many of the interpersonal bits. It's the soft skills. And in the book, I mean, it's one book, it's bigger than guy size, but you can get through it. And but you are evaluating yourself, right? So the first half is learning about yourself, right? Your style, your particulars, things like that. And then it teaches you all these other manager styles. And which one are you? And I'm going to, spoiler alert, at the end of it, what you're learning is that you're not any of them. You're not any of them, right? The concept is you can be all of them. You just may have fallen in one spot or another in terms of manager style and how you relate to people, but it's just your course of life led you there. But the truth is you can be all of them. And a good manager chooses which style to use based on the person, based on the time, based on the situation.
The job.
The job, maybe. Maybe you're talking to an entry-level person. Maybe you're talking to a 10-year person, right? And every human has the ability to pull that toolkit out, pull that tool out of the kit and use it, right? We're not stuck in a shoebox. We can be whoever we want to be. And will we choose to be whoever we need to be for the people that we're helping in life? Right? That's the challenge. I'd like to take this time to thank another one of our wonderful sponsors, Podge Engineering. Podge Engineering, making wind and solar all we know it can be. Are your renewable energy assets underperforming or not performing at all? Did you expect many years of longevity and they're failing on you now? Podge LLC offers many customized, engineered products and solutions to get these assets back on track. Podge Engineering also performs root cause analysis, engineering services, procurement, and construction. Visit podge.org. That's PADGE.org. Remember Podge, making wind and solar all we know it can be.
What I tried to tell people, Adam, when I was in management was, I'm not expecting you to know everything. But what I expect is you to be able to take electrical theory and apply it to the situation that you're standing in front of. And even if you don't have the answer, know how to get the answer, right? And there's a couple high-level critical problem solvers at Pierce that I worked side by side with for a long time. A few of those guys used to refer to me as one of the best. And they used to tell people, Steve's skill, while it's not lacking, was not what made him a great technician. It was his mentality.
Yep.
And it was the willingness to, when I ran into a problem, I was in front of that problem until it was no longer a problem.
That's the inability to fail.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I love the way it sounds.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not going to give up.
No.
You're in it as long as you can stand. You're going to find the solution. Problems are fantastic. Let's solve them together. We'll just keep moving forward.
We're obviously, with my last name, we're of Swedish descent. We're Viking, essentially, right? And
the son of Eric?
Yeah, so
with 2 R's.
The Vikings have a saying, right, where they show up and they burn the boat.
Oh, I love this one.
And that's a sign of we're not leaving.
That's it.
Right? So I like to move in my career with the same thought of like, I'm here until this is fixed.
Yep.
And you're going to deal with me until it is.
Burn the ships.
Burn the ships.
I love that.
No matter what.
That. All right. I got another question, and then you smoked a whole bunch of meat today, and
yes,
man, I want to get after that. What was it like? So you resigned from Pierce, and what was this like? Like I'm imagining this resignation conversation with your boss. I'm resigning, and I'm launching a company, and I'd love to be one of your vendors.
Yep.
Is that what tell us what it was like?
Kind of. It was me and my boss at the time. We worked for a very long time together. We both experienced career growth throughout our time at both MaxGen and Pierce, right?
Okay.
When it came to fruition, it was more of a like, hey, I'm not happy in what I'm doing. I feel like I could do more. And I feel like I have outgrown our organization.
Great pitch.
And it was like, he was kind of like, Steve, you're one of the best guys I ever worked with. You're a huge asset to our team. But I want you to do what's best for you. I don't want you to do what's best for Pierce. And
sounds like a good guy.
When he said that, it was a relief, right? Because obviously I'm like, okay, this is the pitch that I'm going to have. Like, I've been here forever. Like, this place feels like home to me.
Of course. And it is. You grew.
Yeah.
You grew to the point where you're at today because of the company. I mean, you got to love them. You got to love the people.
I still love them. I still have friends there. I still have a lot of people there that I care about. And when I called our VP and I let him know, because I wanted him to hear it from me, he said, Steve, you're going to be a loss no matter what. He was like, but I don't consider this a lose-lose. He's like, we're losing a great employee, but we're gaining an ally. He was like, and that was reassuring to hear, right?
Can you share his name? It sounds like a wonderful human. And if you don't want to, you don't have to.
It's Cody.
I don't know him.
Cody Stidham. So Cody knew of me. We both worked at Tesla around the same time. We didn't have the luxury of crossing paths. But when I called him, I told him, I said, look, I really want you to hear it from me. I appreciate everything that, both MaxGen and Pierce have done for me throughout the years. But I think this is the path that I want to go down, and finding a good electrical contractor, especially, in the MV space.
Not easy.
It's challenging.
Yep.
Right. Finding a guy, someone you could rely on. A lot of times when you're relying on an MV sub, these are emergent matters. These aren't circumstances where it's like, hey, yeah, cool, we'll see you in 2 weeks, right? This is like, hey, I need you here right now. So it was reassuring for me, the guys that I spent so much time with, and we spent, I was at Pierce for almost 8 years, between my time at MaxGen and closing out with Pierce at the end of, towards the end of this year. So it's satisfying to hear that people not only cared about, what the circumstance would be for the organization, but making sure that I was happy, right? And that's kind of how I pitched it. It wasn't like, hey guys, I hate you. I don't want to work here anymore. I hate my job.
Right.
It was more like, hey, I feel like I've outgrown my position here,
I'm promoting.
and it's time for me to promote myself.
And Cody was instrumental
100%.
in your career and making it happen.
100%.
Well, cheers to Cody.
Cheers.
Great people like that are hard to find. Fantastic. All right. I love this. Let's take a little break. Let's go get any smoked meats when we get
some
back.
meats.
I heard the love story from Lauren's point of view last night. And now I want to hear from yours.
Absolutely.
All right, fair.
In today's fast-paced industry, having the right tools isn't just an advantage, it's essential. That's where ETI Energy Tools comes in. With over 75 years of industry experience, they deliver strategic procurement solutions that enhance safety, efficiency, and cost savings. ETI provides industrial tools, safety gear, test and measurement equipment, and heavy repair solutions, all backed by a vast network of manufacturers. Whether it's tool kitting, PPE standardization, or high voltage tooling, ETI saves companies time and money while ensuring they have the right tools for the job. Contact ETI at etienergytools.com to learn more and gear up for success.
Thank you. Tell me what we got here because this is amazing.
So we have some top sirloin, and we have some, I believe it's Wagyu tri-tip from the butcher shop here in Tehachapi. So we spent about 4 hours smoking it today prior to my arrival.
That smoke ring is amazing.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem.
My goodness, the prep work you made on this. We love having you on the podcast. We know you'll become a sponsor. Thank you so much for the sponsorship and the support.
Oh, thanks for having me, Adam.
And holy moly, like you've made us feel very special today and bringing this.
I appreciate it.
This is wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Last night, and I don't know when these episodes air. That's Jacob's job. But last night you were here. We had Renewable Wives and Wine. Your wife is on. And I heard this whole love story. Mm-hmm. Man, this office romance across the country. We only had apparently no video meetings because she had no idea what you look like.
No, none.
You didn't know what she looked like.
Nope.
No. You make a special trip to California, if I remember correctly. Like you were telling some fibs and working a few angles. You were taking some risk in your life, in your career to make a trip out. I don't know the whole reason, but I know some of the reason was, or some of the opportunity was, you got to see each other face to face.
Yeah, we had a
I'm gonna keep eating this one.
we had a swap. Her story was pretty accurate. There were some holes in it. There wasn't really a concern. So what caused the slight thermal event was not anything to do with the job. There was an air switch that was operated with a bird's nest.
You're talking about the fire she spoke about.
Yeah.
And you called it a thermal event.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're technical. I'm with you.
We like to use those words instead
That's
of fire.
right. No. When things fall off wind turbines, we say the blade liberated.
Right. So it was just an arc event. It was a bird's nest got caught inside of the blades as the switch was opening. It wasn't the technician's fault. It was a complete just nature of the beast circumstance, right? It happens all the time on air switches where a pile of debris, bird's nest, could be brush, whatever, it gets caught in that arc situation. It was a little tiny
Naturally.
ball of fire dropped down. It was a bird. It was essentially a bird's nest.
I love that you
just
said it's
fell
not the
to
technician's fault.
It was not the technician's
I
fault.
love you say that.
Yeah, it was not the technician's fault. We were in full communication the entire time that he was out there. And it was just one of those circumstances where I did make it out the next morning. I did a full root cause analysis.
Oh, you went back.
I was already in when they called me and told me it happened. I was already en route. I was on a layover in Dallas.
So you went back east.
Yes.
All right, that's fair because from her I heard you were just headed west.
No, I was already here. So I was here. I I had made arrangements for him to perform the scope. I was a regional manager at the time. I wasn't a technician anymore. I had made arrangement for him to complete the scope. It was a scope that I began. Excuse me. And during switching, there was just an unfortunate circumstance where there was a unknown debris in one of the blades. I think it was for phase B. And when it opened, it just so happened to catch a little bit of arc, caused that little bit of debris. It was, like I said, a small bird's nest, a bunch of brush and stuff. That caught on fire. It dropped down. There was no like huge arc flash. It was essentially a little pile of brush that got caught between the switchblade that then dropped to the ground, and it was a little tiny charred mark on the ground. But it wasn't.
But you went back.
I did go back.
I want to make a point of this because I think you just lost like 2 points of like husband-wife points.
Right.
Because she didn't say you went back.
I did go back, yeah.
She thinks you just came here to see her like fire. We don't care. All I care about was meeting you, girl.
No, the reason why I said what I said was because I relocated to central Pennsylvania. I'm originally from like South Jersey, Philly area. My parents were about 3.5 hours from there. I had this huge, long-haired German Shepherd that, was essentially my only company while I relocated to rural Pennsylvania to handle these jobs. And I knew that if I said, hey, Mom, I got to go see this girl, no way Mom's taking the dog, right?
No?
Mom's like, no.
Mom said no.
Mom's like, no. So I
She
said,
was
hey.
okay with working, but not in the girls.
I said, there's a huge thermal event in California. They need me to go, and I need to be on site. I need you to take this dog. So
You lied to Mom.
lied to Mom.
Oh.
Had to
Mom
happen.
know?
Mom knows. Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, she told me. She said, that's your karma. She said, you lied to me to go see the girl, and you had to rush back. Because I did. I flew back. I got back very early. I landed in Philly at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I drove directly to site to meet the customer on site, to just go over it. And again, as I said, it was nothing done wrong. It was just unfortunate circumstances with the switch. And, like I said, he did everything properly. It just sometimes when you catch a little bit of brush and stuff like that, it's just unavoidable, and that's what happened. So,
All right, here's life advice. You never lie to Mama.
right.
If you do, it better be for love.
Better be for love.
That's it. All right, keep going. I love this story.
But that's essentially what happened. But I did. I jumped the plane. I was already on the way back because I just wanted to make sure, see it to the end and see it correctly. I was here the week prior. That was the first time that I had met her. She was having a rough time. It was her birthday the following week. So, called her. She was, pretty upset, not having a good time. So I decided to surprise her and come out and fly across the country so, we could spend some time for her birthday.
That was the first time face to face?
No. So I was here the week prior to that.
Prior to the birthday.
Yeah, I was here. So the week prior to that was the first time I met her.
All right,
But
all right.
We had a lot of history for, like she told you,
Working together.
helping me out. I helped her out a couple times. She was in a bind, had a bunch of trucks that were sitting on a job in New York. We were about 5 hours from that job, but I was the closest place that had ample amount of property where she could put some trucks at for a temporary.
How many trucks can you drive at once?
Can I drive it once? Only one. Only one. We did put probably about 6 trucks out there. Try to help them out. And then we ended up, there was a rental that was left out there that I ended up needing to return to Central or North Jersey for. So that was a little bit of a trip, but I'm here to support the cause.
All right. I love this story. You hit the facts. You corrected her a couple of times. I don't know about that. She was big into this, she flirted with you first situation with, what am I, chopped liver? You didn't come meet me first?
Yeah.
Is that how it went down?
No, that was more directed to the guy who he basically beelined her office and tried to skip over her. So that's kind of where that came from. But no, I was actually anxious to meet her. to be honest. So
Sounds like it.
It was. We went through some things, work-wise, non-work-wise at the same exact time, so it was, she was a friend for sure for a couple years.
Wait a minute. Did you know that you wanted to be more than friends? Did you know that ahead of time, or is it, okay, we're friends, we've talked a ton on the phone, we've worked together, things are great. Did you fly out with the hope of, come on?
I'm not going to say that I flew out with the hope, but when you have good conversation with a person, no matter what that person is, you develop a certain level of a relationship with that person, right?
Yeah.
I think that there was always an inner want to be like, hey, maybe there's something more here.
Curious.
That's a good way to put it. When I got here,
Curious is just hope's first step, man.
it was undeniable when I got here.
Yeah.
It was like she said, it was, I need this and I'm not leaving until I get it.
Wow.
And like you said earlier, that undeniable urge to not be defeated. What she said was accurate. I told her, I said, you're going to be mine.
Oh.
No matter what it takes.
How long from the time you saw her to the time you said that? Was that 2 weeks? I'm kind of tracking.
No, it was less than a week.
Less than a week.
It was less than a week.
Amazing.
You hear a lot of stories about people saying, oh, it was love at first sight. I just knew the second, right? And I think a lot of people, it's something that seems impossible until it happens to you, right? And when it happened to me, it was like, there's no going back. I flipped a lot of my life upside down to be with her.
Sounds like it.
And it was hard. It was challenging. We both faced our own challenges throughout it, but it was necessary. I think for both of us, she was going through a hard time. I was going through a hard time. I was in a mental space where I dedicated my whole life to being a technician, right? I mean, throughout my Solar City and Tesla days, all the way through MaxGen and Pierce. Whenever the phone rang and they needed me, I was there, right? So it was like, for me, when I met her, it was like I sacrificed my individual happiness for so long that it's time for me.
Good for you.
So.
Good for you.
And it was hard. A lot of, when it happened, a lot of people were like, man, Steve's never done anything like this before. To just be like, I kind of went rogue a little bit, and it wasn't intentional. It wasn't malicious. I was still handling my responsibilities. At that time, my responsibility was primarily remote, right? I was a regional manager. My responsibility was to manage the technicians on the East Coast. There was a little bit of hybrid going out to the field, as I said earlier. That was just who I was. But at that time, it was like, and it would have been different. If I was still a technician, I don't think I could have ever made that happen without taking some serious risks. But when it came to light, I said, it's time for me. I did a lot for you guys. I sacrificed most of my adult career, most of my adult life, to helping the organization and several organizations. And it was just time for my overall happiness.
I love this. Congrats.
I appreciate it.
What a cool story. I love that story. You guys got a great one. And this was what year?
End of 2022.
22.
Yeah.
All right. No, this is fresh. I have enjoyed getting to know you. Last night, I get to enjoy getting to know your wife a little bit. She full of energy, happiness, the love story, a baby. 2 years old.
Her birthday is in February, so she's a little over a year right now.
A little over a year right now. Amazing. So, coast to coast, nearly.
Definitely.
Telling lies and stories to make it all happen.
Make it all happen.
Sacrificing to do it. Plenty of risk. Life is only risk. Anyone that says differently is wrong. It's simple. Nobody knows what tomorrow brings.
It's not
You make
promised.
the best decision possible.
Yep.
You can calculate your risk and do the best you can. And fall in love, getting married, have a baby, and now launching Errickson Energy. And she is your biggest supporter. Unbelievable. Like hearing from her last night, resigned from her job to come work for you and run this business now. What a step. Talk
So-
about risk.
With her, it was an interesting conversation because when I decided to do what I did, she was the first person I sat down with. And I said, listen, how much do you trust me?
This is how you opened it?
That's how I opened it.
You're very serious.
I said, how much do you trust me?
Like, that's a heavy opener.
Yeah, it's, but
I mean, right off the bat, I'm like, I don't know right now.
I'm from the Northeast originally, Adam. So it's like when we,
You're very serious.
we're very absolute.
You
there's
are.
there's no in between. There's no gray area.
No.
Right? It's like we need to have a conversation, and the conversation is important, you know. And I asked her, and she said, "Well, I trust you more than I trust anybody." Why? And I said, "I'm going to leave my job to start this company." And she just looked at me and she said, "You're one of the best that ever did it out there. I have full faith in you."
Dude. Heavy.
Heavy,
These are heavy conversations.
heavy.
And she responds with nothing but love and support.
Just support.
Amazing. Congrats, man.
No, I appreciate
Kudos.
it. Yeah, and it was tough. You know, it's challenging. It's like it's not just understanding what I can do, what I'm capable of, right? All the tools that I gain from spending time in management, spending time in the field, you know, learning the trade, but also where I worked was like family to me, right? It was like, it was comfortable. I was complacent. It felt like, well, this is what I need to do because it became part of who I was.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, your identity starts to morph around.
Right, exactly. And then it went from, and it's interesting now because, and that's why I think we put my name in the company, because the people who worked with me over the years who knew me knew, like, okay, when Steve shows up, it's getting done. No questions asked. And it's getting done right.
Love that.
Right. So when I sat down and I said I wanted it to be personal, I didn't want it to be like a catchy catchphrase. And that was a tenfold situation because the guys who work for me now are guys who I've made acquaintances with throughout the industry. Right.
Nice.
My main lead, Danny, he worked for Pierce for a long time. He didn't work there for 2 years before he worked for me. He left a while ago and he transitioned into different companies, but guys that I've known from the business. And one of the things that they always say to me, which makes me feel incredible, is when I show up with your name on our shirt, I know what's at stake. I know what I have to deliver.
The brand is so important.
It's so important.
It's more than that 5-letter word, right?
Wait, so much more.
What's in it? Yeah, right. It's the mission. It's the motto. It's feeling sometimes, culture, right? What's in that brand, right? Why do we like this? Why do we stand for it? What does it stand for?
And it's for me, it's appreciation, right? It's like one thing that doesn't happen enough is we have a bunch of people who work the back office who are very passionate about the industry. They're doing sales, they're doing project management, they're doing a lot of things, right? But the guys who keep those people employed are the guys who do the work. And one of the big things I wanted to do when I started this was I wanted to give back to the guys who bring the money home, because they are the guys who bring the money home.
You're back to the manager position.
Back to the manager position.
Where you had this kind of rough entry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Back to that, and back to, I wanted to create something that was more family-like again, right? Like when you come through companies and you deal with corporate structure and you go to the corporate level, there's a sense of empathy that's lost. It gets lost because it's all about timelines, chasing the dollar.
Well, the person thinks about themselves and their own career.
Yeah.
And what are my next deliverables?
Yeah.
What's my next goal? How do I progress myself, take care of my family?
Yep.
Of course.
And I encourage
natural.
I encourage my guys. I say, listen, one day you're going to do the same thing I did. You're going to grow as a technician, as an electrician, whatever, and you're going to get to a point where it's time for me to move on. And I don't want you to be scared to have that conversation with me. I want you to say, hey, Steve, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate everything you've done for me. Like, I feel like I've outgrown your circumstance and I want to go chase my own.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it's about. It's about, I used to tell guys, you can't do everything yourself. Right. It's about development. It's about progressing you as an individual, as an employee, so that you can assume my responsibility, so that I can take on more responsibility. And if you don't understand that growth period, and you don't understand how important it is to grow with the individuals who work underneath of you, you'll never grow as an organization.
No.
Because you'll never let go of anything, right? And I think you may even share in this too, but like, as a business owner, one of the hardest things is letting go, right? Because it's yours. It's like,
You have to trust.
You have to trust, right? So it's like, if you don't trust, it's hard because you can't multiply the circumstance if you always have to be the circumstance, you know? And that's what's really hard. And now it's like, I have a lot of good guys who are taking my vision and they're making it a reality every day. And when they are in a position where they need guidance, they don't hesitate to pick up the phone. When I ask them to work a long day, they're there. When I ask them to go in for a nighttime outage, they're there, you know, and every single time that they do that, it's always, I appreciate you at the end of that, because you don't have to do this. And if you don't do this, guess who's going to be out here doing it? I'm going to be out here because I'm still, even now, I mean, we're early, we're young, we're less than 10 employees. I still go out there on a day-to-day. I still do switching. I still pull grounds. Right? I still terminate. I still do transformer testing. I do not just send a bunch of guys out there and say, hey, get the job done. Mm-hmm. Right? I spend the time out there with them when they need me out there, when it's important, even when they don't need me out there, even when, you know, the guys worked all day and it's like, okay, I'm not going to expect you to go in and do a nighttime outage after you just put 10 or 12 hours in on the clock.
Sure.
I'm going to go take that myself.
Good for you.
Because that's how I keep them positive. And that's how I keep them feeling like it's a respect thing. It's like, okay, he's not just going to stand behind the scenes and point fingers. Like,
Well, it's all of those things.
yeah,
But in my opinion, it is you don't have the ability to fail.
no,
That's really what it is.
No
You-
circumstance.
You have this wonderful, and there are a lot of humans out there like you. I have it too. I work with it. My other founders are similar.
yeah.
They can't fail. And I was telling stories. I learned this week, my son doesn't know how to fail, right? And I've seen this in my daughter. Like, sometimes you see it. And it's sacrifice, and it's giving up everything else to achieve one result. It's an amazing focus that some people have. You've got it, man. It is crystal clear and evident. I think that's how we got introduced, and
And you can't teach it.
I don't know if you can or not. I've never tried, but
It's something, it's an interesting situation because it's something that on one side you want to say you have it or you don't, but circumstance can change whether or not you have it. Appreciation can change whether or not you have it, right? And that's the thing. Like I work with guys that have worked with me a long time, and I've seen a complete 180 compared to what they were in the past when I worked with them.
because maybe they were given a good mentor. Because you were given a good mentor.
That's what it comes
That's
down
the
to.
thing. I know. Everybody has to look for them. I encourage that for everyone. Find a mentor. And then the next obvious question is how? open your mouth and tell everyone around you need a mentor, one will appear. It's inevitable.
If you don't
You
have
open
what you
your
want,
mouth and ask for what you want,
go find it.
Yes, it'll happen. Go find it. It'll happen. Might be a friend of a friend of a friend. But if you open your mouth and start saying what you want, it'll happen.
It'll happen.
What a great story.
Let's thank our friends over at Renew Safety, your proactive partner in safety solutions. With comprehensive safety consulting, ensuring compliance with all safety regulations and standards. Expert staffing solutions, providing trained safety professionals tailored to your project's needs. Commitment to sustainability, promoting a safe and sustainable working environment. Contact Renew Safety at info@renewsafety.com and speak to one of their industry experts about their proven track record for safety management on numerous projects. Or perhaps you're looking for construction safety staffing, contractor monitoring, incident investigation, or program development and training. Check out Renew Safety at renewsafety.com.
I don't know. We did the love story. We kind of got back to full circle on manager there. And you heard me last night tell you that I had to fire myself. I was a great manager back in the day. My day. Well, today is not my day. Too many things have changed. I would need a lot of training, and no, I had to fill in the best I could for a little while and pulled it off. We didn't fail, but unbelievable. I needed to fire myself. I'm the wrong one. But, it's just life takes you in different directions, and you get different hobbies here and there and different career paths, and expertise comes in new ways.
Well, that's what it's about too, right? Like, as you said last night, Chance called me, text me, right? And said, hey, we have this problem.
Yeah.
Can you help? Jeff walked in the conference room and was like, hey, I'm with the AC guys now. Let me talk to him. So help Chance out, right? Had a piece of equipment that he needed, got it shipped out for him immediately, walked him through a little bit of scope. That's the mentorship that I'm talking about, right? That's the, hey, there's nothing we can't accomplish if we work together. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's from employer to employee. Sometimes that's from supervisor to technician. Sometimes that's from company to company. But at the end of the day, we're all out here to support the greater cause.
That's right.
And if I can help, I'm going to help somebody.
That's right. And thank you for delivering.
Oh, no.
Holy smokes.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was a pleasant surprise. That was good. Okay. The other thing I've been thinking of is you've been, I think, the first podcast guest I've had that really stays close to the mic and understands these things. And you got a little background in it. So tell me about it. Plus, you helped us with taking care of our echo and sound things in here.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate that. Thank you.
So I like to say in my past life, but I guess it's current life. I spent a lot of time in the professional audio world for recording engineering, mixing engineering. I'm also self-proclaimed. I don't have a degree, but I'm electronics engineer to some degree. Side business, I do have a microphone company, Errickson Labs, where we manufacture very high quality vacuum tube microphones. It's always been more of a hobby thing for me. It has been a lucrative circumstance for us. We are in the middle of a huge redesign on a product where we're actually raising the bar quite a bit. Not sure if it's going to be something that's going to be long-term that we follow, but music and audio is my first passion. So,
and the business sounds niche and high end.
Very niche and high end. Excuse me. It's a very unique industry. It's a very niche market. Our microphones sell for over $5,000.
Yeah, that's high end.
Yeah, it's extremely high end.
Like 6-ish.
Yeah.
100. 100. Not 1,000.
But it's a passion of mine. It definitely is not something that I have my full focus on anymore.
Yeah.
The electrical trade is just a much more broad, open market, much more chance for opportunity. We are in the middle of building a professional recording studio in Tehachapi. So we'll be done very soon, probably less than 60 days.
Nice. Where are you at?
So we're on Valley Boulevard is the actual address. Our entrance is kind of in the back alley behind Valley.
Okay.
I've done a lot of work over the years with a lot of large artists. It's something that I was passionate about when I was young. The industry has taken quite a few turns as far as the financial aspect. As CDs went away and MP3s became more prominent, quality also went down, not just on the end user, switching from a 24-bit WAV file to an MP3 file, but also on the actual recording aspect of it. So the business is not quite as lucrative as it once was, and it's a little bit of a dying market.
Okay. So it's not a hot business, but it's a passion.
It's a passion.
You have a business.
It's
a bit of a hobby that might pay for itself kind of situation.
It's a good business. I mean, if the microphones sell, we do well. It's definitely a hobby more than anything, but it's the same passion of not failing, right? It's the same passion of, for me, what's rewarding about it is I designed this from nothing. And I watch it go through every step of the process, from engineering, research and development, prototyping the product, it becoming a product, and then having people who are recording records with something that you designed and built yourself with your own hands is a rewarding feeling.
I love that. Steve, I'm going to wrap us up, man, because this has been a wonderful conversation.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Oh, man, the meat and the scotch, holy moly, top marks, man. Thank you so much for bringing it.
No problem.
Appreciate the sponsorship, and we got to get you back on as a reoccurring guest. You're here in Tehachapi. You've launched Errickson Energy, medium voltage business, and you're marching out and taking over in renewable space.
Yep.
Love what you did.
I appreciate it.
Congrats to you.
Hey,
and
thanks
looking
for having
forward
me.
to hearing what happens next.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks, Adam.